Hello, my name is Gavin, and this is your Toolbox Talk on PPE Regulations 2022 and the change to employers' duties. In April 2022, the duty on employers to provide PPE has changed. Change means that employers are now required to provide PPE to a broader range of workers. And this Toolbox Talk explains the key changes to the PPE regulations that have come into effect and clarifies which workers are covered by the change. PPE is defined as all equipment, including clothing, affording protection against the weather, which is intended to be worn or held by a person at work and which protects the person against one or more risks to that person's health or safety and any addition or accessory designed to meet that objective. Any equipment or workwear that protects against risks to health or safety will be deemed as PPE. For example, safety boots are intended to protect a person against the risk of injury and are PPE. The 1992 Personal Protective Equipment Regulations, PPER 1992, set out the requirement for employers to provide PPE and also give information, instruction and training on its use in the workplace. Organisations are responsible for the maintenance, storage and replacement of the PPE they provide. The regs set out a duty on employees to be responsible for reporting any loss or damage to their PPE. Under the 1992 regs, employers were responsible for ensuring suitable PPE was provided to employees, those exposed to risks to their health and safety while at work, and this should be provided free of charge. Under the amended regs, known as the Personal Protective Equipment Regulations PPER 2022, the employer's duty has been extended. Employers are required to provide PPE to a wider classification of worker. The new regs have extended the duty to so-called Limb B workers. The purpose of the change is simple. If an employer has workers, then the HSE holds them liable for the PPE provision to those workers. The change brings protection to all workers. The aim of the legislation is to ensure no category of worker is excluded or put at unnecessary risk of harm from their work. So what is a Limb B worker? Well, the Employment Rights Act of 1996 identifies a Limb B worker as an individual who has a casual employment relationship and works under a contract for service. This category of worker was previously excluded from the employer's duty to provide PPE. But PPER 2022 now requires both employees and Limb B workers to be treated the same in terms of PPE provision. The term Limb B worker sounds highly legalistic. The origin of the term actually derives from the need to distinguish between two clauses in a piece of legislation. So in Section 230 of the Employment Rights Act, it splits workers into two sections, A and B, and hence the workers under Section B have become known as Limb B workers. These are the individuals with a casual employment relationship, whereas those on a direct employment contract are under Section A of the legislation, and they could just as easily be referred to as Limb A workers. But because that would be so wordy, we simply call them employees. So to clarify, the two worker categories in the legislation are, firstly, those directly employed with an employment contract, and secondly, all other workers who provide services to a host client. The Employment Rights Act defines a worker as anyone under a contract of employment or someone with any other contract to personally perform work or services for the other party to the contract. Under PPER 2022, the definition of a worker who should be provided with PPE by the employer incorporates Limb B workers. The provision of PPE includes individuals who work under a contract of employment or any other contract where they undertake to do or personally perform any work or services for the other party to the contract. So, how do we identify Limb B workers? The following are indicators for Limb B workers. They carry out casual or irregular work for one or more organisations. They are entitled to holiday pay after 1 month of continuous service, but limited other employment rights. They only carry out work if they choose to. They have a contract to do work, provide services personally, with a limited right to send someone else to do the work. They are not in business for themselves. They do not advertise their services. They do not have self-employed status with HMRC. Think of agency temps or Deliveroo drivers who are paid directly by the company they operate for, as they are not self-employed. The HSE, remember, identifies a Limb B worker as a dependent contractor. So here are some examples of workers who meet the definition of Limb B worker and therefore covered under PPER 2022. Individuals engaged on casual or zero-hour contracts. Agency workers operating at the site of a host business. Labour-only contractors who usually work for one client. Individuals working in the gig economy, such as couriers, drivers, fast food deliverers. So the organisation to whom such workers provide services are responsible for their PPE. Taking the example of a Deliveroo bicycle delivery rider, the employing business now needs to provide a suitable cycling helmet, rather than just have it as a condition of work that one should be worn.